Okay, guys, so it's 10 o'clock. Welcome everybody to our webinar on town planning. My name's Glenn and I'm the principal of the Observatory Hill Environmental Education Centre. It's great to see so many of you here today, and it's great for us all to celebrate World Town Planning Day. So today we're going to be learning all about what a town planner is, the important job that they have, some of the principles that they use when they're planning areas, and then we're going to follow up with a competition where you can be a town planner at the end. Okay, so I'm just going to start my presentation with you guys. All right, and so now you should see the presentation in front of you. Okay, guys, so like I said, my name's Glenn. We're the Observatory Hill Environmental Education Centre. We're located right in the Rocks area of Sydney, right in the heart of Sydney. And like other environment centres, we take excursions, incursions, and we do webinars for the Department of Education, and also some professional learning. So teachers, thank you for joining. Thank you for bringing your classes here today. It's great to see so many of you here. There are 24 classes and 11 schools involved. I won't go through all the different schools today, but we range from all over Sydney, up to Newcastle, up to the Blue Mountains, and I think some even further far. So we'll find some information out in our polls later on. So we're coming to you today from Gadigal country. So the city of Sydney is in Gadigal land, and I would like to acknowledge the Gadigal clan of the Eora Nation and pay my respects to elders past, present and emerging, and also the Aboriginal clans from where you're coming from today as well. And as a town planner, it's probably a good idea to discuss with the local the local Aboriginal clan about how you might incorporate those people into your town plan, just so that we can recognise their importance in our area. And I'll talk a bit more about that later on. So today we're operating as a lesson in the Department of Education. So there's just a couple of simple behaviour things that we would like. We really appreciate your participation. So we're going to ask you some questions. Your teachers will survey you and tell us the best answer in our poll. We appreciate your kindness, and for your online safety, we have turned off your microphone and camera, except for your teachers. If you are learning at home, you won't be able to turn those on. Also, the chat has been turned off for people at home. Teachers can use the chat. The Q&A has been turned off as well because there are so many of you, we wouldn't be able to keep up with all the questions. And that's basically it. So the first thing I'm going to do is I would like to know a little bit about you. So I'm going to put up my first poll, which is about you. So teachers, if you can answer those questions on behalf of your class, or if you are at home, you can answer those questions yourself. So the first question is, how many people are watching? And if it's your whole class, that would be the last answer there, which would be easy. Your location, because as I mentioned, you're coming to us from all over the place. So some of you might be in a Sydney suburb. I know we have Jesmond here, I think, no, New Lambton, up near Newcastle. So, and maybe another country town or suburb, another New South Wales city. Maybe you're coming from a small village. And are you familiar with what a town planner does? So teachers, maybe ask your class if more than 50% are familiar, you can write yes. If less than 50%, maybe no. All right, it's always good for us to know a little bit about you guys before we get started. Okay, so nearly, I'll give you another 30 seconds, teachers, to answer those questions, or students if you're working at home. I know some of you are working at home still and your teachers have given you the link. And also we have quite a few homeschooling people watching us today as well. So welcome for everybody. Okay, I think we might finish up there now. So let's end that poll and have a look at your results. And I'm sharing those results on the screen with you now. Okay, so it looks like 9 out of our 14 are coming from a class, which is great. So 64% of you are in your class. Oh, locations. A lot of you are coming from Sydney suburbs, which is probably understandable. Some of you coming from another New South Wales. Actually, there's somebody from each one of those categories. A country town or country town suburb, a small village, a farm, or even a rural area. So welcome those people from a rural area. And let me see, about 21% of you are familiar, okay, and 79% of you aren't familiar with what a town planner does. So hopefully by the end of today, everyone will be very familiar. So I'm going to stop sharing that with you now, and we're going to move on. So what are we going to be learning about today? All right, our learning intentions, teachers, will be to learn about what a town planner does, why they are important, what sort of skills they might need. We're going to look at a couple of places that town planners have been working on in Sydney, and then I'll tell you about our fantastic follow-up competition where you can win prizes. First prize is $100, second prize is $75, and third prize is $50 for sending us your best town plan of an area that we are going to be showing you soon. Now, a town planner is a very important person. They help communities, companies, and the government to decide on the best way to use land. So their job is to plan areas, to make them new places for people to live, work, and play in. They have to make really important decisions about the best way to use the land, making sure that people can make money, but also people can live there in a nice way. And we call that livability. Town planners are also called urban planners, okay? And their job is really important because they help to design new places for people to live in. And they also have a really important role in looking after our environment. So the way that planners plan an area can make it good for the environment in the future. For example, if they put lots of new housing near transport, like a train station, then people might want to travel by train if it's easy for them. And that means less cars on the road and less carbon dioxide, okay, which is what cars produce out of their exhaust pipes. So you can see how town planners can actually help to look after the environment as well. And we can see some pictures of some students looking at a town plan, which is from one of our excursions in the city, where they're looking at a model of the city of Sydney. Now, what sort of skills would a town planner need? And I know that most of you are in year 5 and 6, and you probably haven't even thought about a career yet. It's a long way away from high school, but there's no harm in having a think about some jobs for the future. So some of the skills that you would need to be a town planner is, first of all, you'd probably need to know about maps and plans and technical drawings. And so studying something like geography would be a really good subject to study in high school if you want to be a town planner. And in fact, our webinar today is called Human-Shaped Places. And it's a geography excursion that we take to the area that we want you to plan at the end of this webinar. So we take lots of geography excursions, and it's always fun to get out and see places around and learn about how people have planned them. Another skill you might need is working with people, and these are called stakeholders. So people who might own the land, people who are around the land, people who want to come into the land and maybe own a shop or a business or buy some property there to live in. So there are lots of people, so you have to be good at communicating. You have to understand about the environment and how what you do can affect the environment. You need to have strong communication because you would need to write reports and tell people about your plan. And often that can be done virtually. So these days, a lot of the communication is done online. So you might develop a website to tell people about the area that you are planning. You probably need to know a little bit about CAD, computer assisted design. So in the olden days, most town planners would have drawn plans on big sheets of paper. These days, they're probably using computers and they're designing their plans on computer equipment. Same with our models. You can see that this model, in the past, it was probably made out of paper mache or cardboard. Today, it's made with a laser cut computer program where each building is actually made on a computer and then put onto the model of the city. So having computer skills is probably another good thing. Obviously, you need to manage your time, and sometimes these are very big projects where you'd be working with a whole team of people, and you need pretty good organizational skills and attention to detail, because what you are designing can affect everybody's life. Now, I'm just going to show you a quick video of what is a town planner. It won't go for very long. Hopefully it will run for you, but if not, I will put it onto, it'll be on the website as well. It's a very short video.
Look at the houses, the streets, the schools, parks and the playgrounds, the shops. None of that happened by accident. That was all designed by a planner.
And we're building buildings and towns and getting creative at the same time.
You try and work out the best balance so that everyone can get what they need and minimize their impact on the environment.
It's about how to create better places for people to live, walk, socialize, and play.
My favorite thing about being a planner is actually getting out there into the communities that we work with, listening to locals, learning their stories, and working with them to create a new plan for the future.
We serve all the stakeholders, developers, architects, environmental scientists, and engineers. We bring them all together and make sure that everyone is collaborating.
Without planners, there's nobody to say sort of pause, what are the actual impacts of what is about to occur? And is there a better way to do it?
Planners have an opportunity to make a really positive impact on people's lives. So our work as planners really comes down to providing people with choices. Choices for where they live, where they work, where they play, what types of homes they live in, how they travel. And so by providing people with choices, we're improving their quality of life and having a positive impact.
When the project is actually done and built, you can then go and walk around it and see how the decisions you've made have actually made people's lives better.
Okay, so hopefully you could see that and you could understand what a town planner is and the sort of work that they do. They have a really important job, and it's quite a well-paid job too. So I know that, again, you're probably not thinking of a career in year 5 and 6, but if you love maps and planning and designing, then maybe that's a career for you in the future. Now, what does livability mean? They were talking on the video about making livable communities. So it's a pretty easy word. It's to live in somewhere and make it a nice place to live. So livability means the quality of the environment. How nice is the environment that you are designing? And it could be a village, a suburb, or even a whole city. And so there are lots of things. It's the qualities of a location that contribute to the quality of life. And for people who work and visit and live in that location. So, for example, the livability of a place could be improved by giving people free Wi-Fi. All right, everybody likes to be able to connect globally to each other. So that could be something a town planner might put in a plan of an area. Or it might be something simple like just having some good public transport, maybe some great bike paths so people can easily travel without driving on busy roads. It might be preserving the natural environment and looking after bushland where animals might live. It could be things like making cheaper homes for low-income people to live in so that everybody can afford to live somewhere. So these are all things that make a place livable. And you can see from our image there that there are lots of words there about livability and about the sort of things that people might need in their community to make it a place where people would want to come and live. So I want you to think about your community, and I'm going to put another poll up now, our second poll, which is about your community. I'll just launch that now. And I want you to think, which of the following would not help to improve livability in an area? Okay, so it's a multiple choice question. You can pick more than one, but have a talk with your teacher, or if you're at home by yourself, Okay, which one of those would not help livability, help to improve livability, make an area a nice place to live? Oh, some great answers coming in. And I think you've hit the nail on the head, everybody. I think you're all choosing the correct answers. That's fantastic. I could see straight away lots of classes jumped into, and I'll give you a hint, there are 3, okay, that probably I wouldn't want to live near, and probably you wouldn't want to live near either. So they don't really help to improve the livability of an area. Sometimes there's ways that we can overcome some of those issues. And I might mention that when everybody's finished participating. Okay, guys, we might end that poll now. Sorry if you haven't had a chance yet. So I'm going to end that, and I'm going to share our results with you. Okay, so you can see by far the 3 biggest responses were for a noisy freeway, a smelly factory, and a polluted stormwater drain. So they're probably not the sort of things that most people would like to live near. Some people do live near freeways, but you might have noticed when you're driving on the freeway that they might have a big concrete wall, and that's called a sound barrier or a noise barrier. And that's one way to overcome the problem of living near a noisy freeway. It helps to make the sound less, okay? But for those other 2, a smelly factory or a polluted stormwater drain, probably not very nice. But of course, all the others like parks and nature, having different housing, maybe some good employment nearby so you don't have to travel very far, some interesting shops to go to, and a good mix of transport helps to make places more livable for most people. Okay, we'll stop sharing that one there, and we will, oops, I'm just going to get out of this. Move that away. I think if I just go to my next one. Oops, no, I've got to move that out somehow. Sorry, guys. It's hidden behind my, I'm just going to move this out of the way. So, oh, there we go. Sorry, guys. Okay, so now we're going to look at what town planning, how livability affects town planning. So why is livability important? Well, town planners, like I said, need to know a lot about livability because it's their job to make a livable community. It affects everyone's life. So how they're designed can help to make them more livable or less livable. Sometimes we can design things that actually don't help to make places very livable. So after this webinar, we want you to practice your town planning skills to turn a place into a more livable place. And at the moment, it's got a fish market on it. It's on Blackwattle Bay. I'll give you more information at the end. But at that fish market is moving to another place nearby, and that will open up a big area of land for a town planner to plan for the future. And we would like you to be our junior town planners and help to plan that area to turn it into a more livable place. And like I said, there are some prizes there as well. Okay, so I want you to think about the area that you live in, okay? And I want you to tell me what makes your suburb a livable place, okay? So again, you can see I've left the answers there, but I will put the poll up for you. Okay, so this is about your suburb's livability features. So think about the area where your school is. Okay, we'll take it as your school suburb, even though you might live in a suburb different to where your school is. So think about your school area. And with your teachers, I want you to have a think about these categories. Which ones relate to your area? Does your school's suburb have great parks? Does it have good sporting facilities? Is it close to natural areas? Does it have a good variety of shops? Does it have good public transport? Does it have good services like hospitals and schools? Is it a safe place to live? Are there lots of jobs nearby? And is it a friendly community? So maybe teachers, you can take a poll. If more than 50% of the class agree, we can add that in. If less than 50% agree, maybe we'll leave it out. But I'd like to know how livable your area is. Okay, I can still see people adding there, which is great. I'm loving the way that you're thinking about what makes your area a livable place. And of course, some areas are going to be quite different. If you live in a small village or a rural area, you probably won't have much public transport, for example. But you would probably have lots of natural areas around your town or your suburb. I'm glad to see that we have something for just about all of these things. So I'm going to end that poll now. And we're going to have a look at the results. All right, so fantastic that a lot of you live near some great parks. Almost 82% of you are living in your suburb near some great parks. So we have some really high statistics there. In fact, the lowest one looks like lots of jobs nearby, and probably you're living in a suburban area, and maybe mum and dad have to travel away from your suburb to go to work somewhere else, which is a bit of a problem in some of our big cities, especially if mum and dad have to travel a long way to get to work. Right? If they have to sit in a car for an hour and a half to get to work, then that's not a good plan, because a good plan puts lots of jobs near where people live so that people don't have to spend a lot of their time traveling to work. But it looks like, yes, lots of you live near great sporting facilities, close to natural environments, which is always great, especially with COVID. When we're all stuck inside our house for 4 months, it's nice to get out to a park and walk around in nature. A lot of you live near great shops, and that's also something that a lot of people like to do. A lot of teenagers like meeting their friends at the shopping mall or going to the movies or places like that. About 60% of you live near good public transport. Some of you are near good services like schools and hospitals. Obviously, you're in a school, so you have a school at your area. It's great to see that most of you live in a safe place. And most of you have said that your community is a friendly community, which is another really important thing about livability. Okay, so I'm going to stop sharing that one now. And I'm going to just talk about some of the livability features that town planners like to put in their plans. And these might be good for you to think about when you're entering our design competition. So have a think about a clean environment. What could a town planner do to improve the cleanliness of an area? So having things like solar panels or bike paths or recycling all help to keep the area nice and clean. Having different types of housing. So not everybody can afford $1 million home. So having some low cost housing in your plan is always a good idea. Okay, also think about old people. They might just want smaller units that are easy to look after, or maybe even a retirement village. Okay, have a think about employment. Is there jobs in your plan? Is it easy for people to get to work from where your plan is? What sort of recreation things are in your plan? So there's different recreation for different age groups. Some people might want a skateboard park, especially if you're young. Some people who are old might want a golf course, or I don't know, a tennis court or something like that. Young people play tennis too, but there are different recreations for different ages of people. Public transport is really important. And this is a picture actually of the Inner West tram, which has actually just got lots of cracks in it. and they have to stop it for 4 months, which is really going to seriously affect a lot of people's livability. They're going to have to find different ways to get to work while that tram is out of action. Having walking and bike paths is always fun, and having them separate from cars is also a really good idea. And I know in the city of Sydney, our mayor has been putting lots of bike paths all over the place, which is a safe, cheap, and easy way for people to get around, and also healthy. Having good public infrastructure. Now that's a big word. Infrastructure means all the things that are public in an area that lots of people use that help the area to function properly. So having things like parks, barbecues, rubbish bins, even phone boxes, free Wi-Fi, seats for people to sit on, playground equipment, all of those things make it easy, safe, and convenient for people to live in an area. Having community places where the community can get together, maybe like a hall or a weekend market. They're great places where we can mix everybody and everybody gets to meet everybody. And that helps to make a really friendly community where everybody gets to know their neighbours. And a community hall can be used from everything from scouts to maybe old people, and that everybody can use it in their own way. Maybe it's a chess club, maybe it's a dance club, maybe it's scouts or something like that. Another thing is obviously services. So people need things like fire brigades and ambulances and schools and post offices. So they're called services, and they also help to make everybody's life safe and convenient. If you live near water, having access to the water is always a good idea. So being able to walk to the beach and having that free for everybody, being able to walk to the local lake or the creek makes it nice for people to live in an area. Everybody likes to have access to water if there is a waterway in your area. Having a natural environment is also really important, and we've learnt that during COVID. All right, when people are stuck inside, they get stir crazy, if you like. Okay, they want to get outside. So having beautiful natural environments is great, but if you can do something to improve the natural environment, that's even better. So planting trees, or in this case, they're putting special tiles on the edge of the harbour to try to increase the amount of animals living in that area, right? So they're called biodiversity tiles. And I want you to think about that idea, because the area that you're designing is actually on the edge of Sydney Harbour. So that could be a really interesting way to improve the natural environment of your area. And finally, looking after old buildings is also really important. So not knocking down every old building and building something new, but finding a way that you can reuse an old building is a great planning strategy, turning old things into new things. And that way we can get to see our heritage. This picture is from somewhere called the Tram Sheds, which actually used to be a big shed where trams would be going at night time when they weren't being used. And today it's a big shopping centre where people can go and buy their food locally. Now, I want you to have a look at this poster called Creating Livable Cities. Okay, I want you to study it with your class, or if you're by yourself at home, and I'm going to put a poll question up. I'll just share my next poll. Okay, and of course, if that poll's in your way, teachers, you can just move it to the side. And the question is, this poster has a pattern. So I want you to study the poster and tell me, is the left side more livable? Is the right side more livable? Is it showing the benefits of public transport? Or is it showing a variety of sustainability features? And you can choose more than one answer. And I'll give you a hint, there are 3 correct answers. Okay, so everybody look at the poster. Is the left side more livable? Is the right side more livable? Is this showing the benefits of public transport? Or is it showing a variety of sustainability features? All right, I'm loving the way that you are all participating. You jumped on that really quickly. Talk to your teacher. They can write the answer down for you. Okay, I'm going to end the poll now and we will share the results with you. All right, I'm glad most of you didn't tick the first question or the first answer, because the left side is definitely less livable than the right side. The left side is dominated by a big road with lots of cars producing lots of exhaust fumes. There are no crossings, so it's dangerous for people to cross the road. The shops look run down. People are graffitiing on the side of the buildings, making the area look ugly. And there's lots and lots of freeways in the background with giant car parks near shopping centres. But on the right-hand side, and remember this is a city environment, we have some trams and public transport, some buses on natural gas. We have bike lanes with bike lockers. We have solar panels on the roofs of buildings. We have people living in apartments close to the transport there. It looks a much nicer, greener, friendly, cleaner place. We have a big park in the background. So it's definitely showing us that the right-hand side is a much more better planned environment. It has some great public transport, so people can easily get around without driving their car. And it has some good sustainability features like solar panels on their roofs and lots of greenery around as well. So thanks guys for doing that. All of you got the right answer there. I'm going to stop sharing that poll with you. Okay. So now we're going to learn about some key planning and mapping skills. This is a very complicated town plan of an area called Barangaroo, okay, which obviously took a whole team of planners to decide and took many, many years. Okay, so that's a really complicated one, but I'm just going to talk about some key skills that you might need when you are doing your design. So first of all, probably the most important skill is a bird's eye view. Your plan is always looking down, all right? And so you're drawing like you are a bird flying over an area. And it's exactly what the name sounds like. So town planners use this to show where things go on a plan. So for example, this plan on the right-hand side is again for Barangaroo. And you can see that they have numbered different things there. We haven't put the key in for what all the numbers mean, but it should be fairly obvious what area number 1 is. Okay, so let's see if you can work that out. Okay, we have a bird's eye view. I've put a poll up there. Can you tell me what you think number 1 is on this plan? It's in the top of the picture if you're not sure. Now, this is an area right on the edge of Sydney Harbour in the middle of the city. In fact, it's this area behind me, okay, down here, right on the edge of Sydney. So it's a bit of a trick because it is a bird's eye view and the things are numbered. Not all of them are buildings, all right? So things are numbered, but I haven't put the key in there. Sometimes called the legend, the key or the legend. All right, so let's have I'm going to end the poll. Let's share our results and see if you were in the majority that got that was a park. So generally on a plan, we use different colours to show different types of land use. And because that area was coloured green, it is a park, okay? So great work, those guys who thought that that was a park. It could have been an apartment. It's probably unlikely that it would be a circular apartment, although there are some in the city. Okay, but the circle is really about the number. Okay, so I'll just close that one down. All right, now I just mentioned land use. So town planners know about land use. They know that it's always a good idea to group different activities together and keep them in the same area. So that's what we call a good planning strategy. Sometimes we can mix them up if the land uses don't affect each other. But generally, when we look at a map or look at a plan, different activities are located in the same area. And we often use different colours to show that. So some of the most common types of land use are recreation. So on your plan, you will be designing areas where you want people to relax and enjoy different types of recreation. You might find a commercial land use. So we tend to put all the businesses together, okay? So this is obviously a picture of the central business district of Sydney, called the CBD, a very important commercial area in Sydney. Another land use would be taken up with transport, whether it's a road or a picture like this one of a tram. Another type of land use would be, for example, residential. So people must live somewhere. And it's always a good idea not to put the apartments right on the edge of the water. So when you're designing your plan later on, think about having access for everybody. Don't put the apartments right on the edge of the water, because then only the people that can afford those expensive apartments will be able to look at the water. So we always put those back a little bit off the edge of the water if possible. Another type of land use are things like education, right? If you looked at a map of your suburb, I'm sure there would be lots of areas where there are schools, whether it's a high school, a primary school, or even a TAFE or a university. Another type of land use is industrial, and we tend not to mix our industrial with our residential. Not many people like to live next to a big noisy factory with lots of trucks coming and going at all hours of the day and night. Another land use would be natural. It's important to keep some areas left as bushland or parkland. So a natural environment is very important. Now, on your plan, you can show us land use by showing different colours or shading. So on this plan on the right-hand side, which is actually the area that you're going to be redesigning, we have a concept plan that somebody else has drawn, and you can see that they've labelled it in green, yellow, and red. And on the legend, you can see that 1 is yellow and it says new mixed use neighbourhood with apartments and shops all mixed in together. Number 2 is a fish market, which is part of the yellow area. The red stands for future resident development sites on this plan, and the green stands for parks. So having lots of colours showing different land use is a really great strategy. And when we mark your plans, we will be looking for how you've used the land and what different types of land use you have there. So a legend is another thing. So we don't want to clutter up our map with so many pieces of writing. An easy way is to just put numbers and then write a key underneath that tells us what all the numbers mean. And that way you don't have a plan that's just full of writing, okay? So you might say, oh, this is an apartment and this is a park and this is whatever. Okay, too busy, takes up too much space. Just put numbers on the key and tell us what you are planning in different areas. Another way you could make it more interesting is to put little pictures or icons. So for example, you can see I've chosen a couple of icons there. The first one is about safety. The second one is about probably a park. And the third one is a shopping. So a shopping basket would stand for shopping. And on our webpage, there is a whole sheet of icons that you could use to decorate your plan. They are quite big, so you might need to reduce them in size or you don't have to use them if you don't want to, okay? So but that's another thing. You could draw an icon to show something. Now, scale is very important on a plan, okay? Having things in the right size shows that you understand about maps and plans. So when we look at plans, you can see that the bottom one has a scale where 1 centimetre would measure almost 700 kilometres. But on the top right-hand one, which is your plan, 1 centimetre there would represent about 100 metres. So if you did, I don't know, you drew a tennis court and you said, this is on my plan, it's a tennis court. If it looks as big as a football field, then it's going to look weird and it won't be the right size. So try to think very carefully about how big things are on your plan. And on our webpage, I've given you some guides of about how big things should be on a plan, okay? Our next thing we're going to look at is some examples of some work that town planners have done. So if you look in the top right-hand picture, we can see a picture of Barangaroo, which is a really important new part of Sydney that a team of town planners worked on for many years, and they came up with the picture on the bottom right-hand side. So this is what Barangaroo is going to look like when it's completely finished. It's almost finished. There's just a little bit in the middle that they haven't finished yet, but there is a big tunnel, a railway tunnel coming under this area. So the first one is in 2010 when this was a port. So the land use was a port and it was a big flat piece of concrete covered in shipping containers. Today, if we look at the bottom picture, and this is what it will look like in 2025, this you can see is now a mixed use area. So it has a big park on the left-hand side. It has some big office buildings on the right-hand side. And it has some low buildings in the middle with some more park, right? So, and one of the great things about this land use is that now you can walk and cycle all the way around Barangaroo. So it's become a really popular place for visitors, Sydney people, local office workers to go to. And it's opened up a huge area of Sydney Harbour for the public, which used to be blocked off from the public because when it was a port, it was out of bounds for people to go to because it would be dangerous to walk on a port. So in your plan for the part of Sydney Harbour we want you to design, we want you to make it a very accessible place, just like the people at Barangaroo did. Another area is called the Bays Precinct. And this is a huge area of land on the edge of Sydney Harbour. And you can see in the top picture, there's another big piece of concrete, which used to be a port. And then in the bottom picture, you can see a plan that somebody else has done to try to redesign this area. But if you look in the 2 black circles, that's actually the part of the Bays Precinct which we want you to design as a town planner. This part is called Blackwattle Bay, and the area that you're designing is called the Fish Market. There's a fish market on there right now, but it's looking very tired, run down and old. And so the government is going to knock it down and move it just around the corner to another part of Blackwattle Bay. That's going to open a huge area of land on the edge of Sydney Harbour for people to either live, work, or visit. So we want you to come up with a plan that is going to make this area a livable place. And there is heaps of information on our website about this area. For teachers, there's whole units of work that you can do with your class before they start planning, or if you just want to launch straight into the plan, you can do that as well, okay? So your teachers will show you where that is. I know Malabar, who are joining us, have already done their unit of work beforehand, which is great to hear, and maybe some of you others have done that as well, okay? So Don't forget, all the information is on our website under Observatory Hill Environmental Education Centre. In fact, I'm going to show you where it is in a second. Here it is. Okay, so this is our website. So if you go to online learning, one of the tabs, okay, and you can go to Human Shaped Places World Town Planning Day. And that will take you to the website that goes with this webinar. Okay, so our competition is on that page. You can have a look at that. You can learn more about Blackwattle Bay, and it will also give you some tips and hints on how to come up with a good plan. So if you go to the post-webinar fieldwork or webinar, remember teachers, this can also be a fieldwork opportunity for next year. There is the town planning competition on our website. It tells you the information about it. Oops, sorry, I just jumped ahead there. So it's right on the post, which means after the fieldwork or webinar. Town planning competition. Okay, there's a blank outline there for you to download, and it looks like the picture on the right-hand side. So you have to download that. Now, a little planning tip, you might want to download that as an A4, but I would blow it up to an A3, and only your teacher probably can do that for you. So you might want to work as an A3. You might want to work in a team. You can decide with your teacher. You can have a planning team, but if you win, don't forget, the $100 will have to be shared in your team. Okay, so if you've got 4 people in your team, you'll get $25. If you do the plan yourself and you are the winning plan, you will get $100. Okay, your teachers can decide which way they want you to work in class. Or if you're working at home individually, you can do that as well. Now, it says download the template, use the town planning skills that we've talked about today to create a plan that will improve this area to live, work, and visit. Okay, now there's a couple of things there. It said it should include the following land uses. Okay, so commercial, residential, recreational, transport, natural, and you can put education. I probably wouldn't put a school because there is a school called Ultimo, which is about 200 meters away. So you wouldn't put another school so close, but there's other education like preschools and things like that that you put in there, okay? Next thing, so you have to use the blank town planning template that's on our website. We also want a report of 200 words that explains your plan. All right, so it tells us about the features that you are putting on your plan. It has to be in bird's eye view. You should use coloured pencils to show the different types of land use. We would like it drawn to scale as much as possible, but we're not going to be so picky, you know, that we would be measuring every single building. Okay, it just has to be about the right size. It should show how your plan helps to improve sustainability and also how your plan connects to the existing area. It's very lucky right behind your area you're planning is a light rail station. But a little tip, another great transport option is a ferry terminal. And there's no ferry terminal in Blackwattle Bay. And when the new fish markets gets built, that would be a great way for people to visit the area that you're designing. So have a think about, you know, how do people get to your area? Maybe some bike paths. So think about what's around it as well. You might even look on a Google map to see where this area is in relation to the surrounding suburbs. Okay, so on the website, there is a way for you to upload your plan. So you use the town plan template and then you can see circled in the top right-hand corner, it says gallery. And in there, there is a way for you to upload. So all you have to do is take a photograph of your plan. Okay, you can upload the picture of your plan and your report. Make sure you put your name and your school on there. We don't want anyone winning and then we don't know who it is. So it has to have your name and your school. You can upload it on a Google form and then we will have a look at those. And we're going to be looking at all the plans and the competition will close on the 26th of November. So you've got quite a bit of time, 2 or 3 weeks, to have a think about that, work on your plans, send them to us, and then we will announce the prizes to you and on our website as well. And like I said, there's a $100 book voucher for the winning prize, $75 for the second prize, and $50 for the third prize. And they're book vouchers that we'll be sending to your school, to your teacher. Okay, so a couple of designing tips to help you with your plan. Like I said, you might want to blow that plan up from A4 to A3. Okay, it makes it a little bit easier. Don't forget to draft and draw in pencil. You don't want to start drawing in pen and then make a mistake and have to do it all again. Use your coloured pencils or different shading to show different land uses. Make sure that things are about the right scale. You're not going to be exact, but about the right scale. And the website will tell you how big things should be. Don't forget your sustainability features and write those in your report. And they're the environmental things. Make a legend or a key. Make sure your plan improves the natural environment and makes it a nice place to live. Think about how people will access your area. And I've already given you a big hint there. That would be the first thing that I would be putting on my plan. Don't forget to include those recreation spaces and make sure you leave the edge of the water as a place where people can relax and have access to the harbour. You might want to put some bike lanes and walking paths in to help the movement. And don't forget to be creative. If you have some really interesting ideas in your head that you think you could put in the plan, don't be shy, put them in. Okay, we would love to see some really innovative or creative ways that you are planning an area.